Hey, Jules Plus Vegan, and as always, welcome to my channel. And for those of you who are new, I know you can benefit. So I've been doing a series on insulin resistance. It's also referred to as metabolic syndrome. There's a third term for it as well. Well, let's just say the body isn't working properly, and it's largely due to the standard American diet, and that is straight up. Which, sadly, the standard American diet is spread all over the world. So I don't even know how long we can call it sad anymore, because it is just tragic. Maybe there'll be an acronym for tragic. Whatever the case is, I am continuing with that. This one is on belly fat. And because when you look at insulin resistance, one of the signs of that, and there's several signs, and you can go back to those videos and look, but one of them is definitely fat around the midsection or belly. And why does this matter? I'm so glad you asked. This article is by WebMD, and I will include it in the description of the video. There are several hyperlinks that you may want to click on. So this is the truth about belly fat. Surprise! Everyone has some belly fat, even people who have flat abs. And kind of what comes to mind on this is when I think about how people will say, well, where do you get your protein? Sorry, I'm still having asthma. If you're vegan, where do you get your protein? And what people don't realize is that all fruit and vegetables have some protein, some fat, and some carbs, like automatically. And so it's kind of the same thing. You can have a six-pack. You can be in incredible shape, but your body needs some visceral fat to protect your organs. And so that's kind of where they are for that. But most people far exceed what's needed. So let's get into it. That's normal, but too much belly fat can affect your health in a way that other fat doesn't. Forgive me. Some of your fat is right under your skin. Other fat is deeper inside, around your heart, lungs, liver, and other organs. It's that deeper fat, called visceral fat, that may be the bigger problem, even for thin people. That's what has to be considered. And I know I did a video called Skinny Fat, and it was for thin people who can still have dangerous fat, if they're not aware. And that's why so often people will go, but that person was thin. How'd they die? Wait, they have cancer? I don't get it. Like, what? A heart attack? Didn't you see? Yes. We all, sorry, you guys. We all see that. Sidebar, I've been having asthma really bad for the last couple of days. And I think it's because, like everywhere, we've been inundated with weather, even in the high desert, and things are just blooming and then dying and then blooming, and we can't even keep up. And there's so many things just artificially, or prematurely, I should say, blooming, that my lungs are going crazy. Anyone else? I'd love to know in the comments below if you can relate. All right, let's get back to it. You need some visceral fat. It provides cushioning around your organs. Ding, 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 I knew that. But if you have too much of it, you may be more likely to get high blood pressure, type 2 diabetes, heart disease, dementia, and certain cancers, including breast cancer and colon cancer. Not good. And again, a lot of these are hyperlinks. But as we've been talking about insulin resistance, what keeps coming up? Heart disease in the form of high blood pressure, type 2 diabetes, like all of these things, it's repetitive. So that's how we know that it's just something that absolutely needs to not only be looked at, but resolved. The fat doesn't just sit there. It's an active part of your body, making lots of nasty substances. If you gain too much weight, your body starts to store your fat in unusual places. With increasing obesity, you have people whose regular areas to store fat are so full that the fat is deposited into the organs and around the heart. Let's read that again. With increasing obesity, you have people whose regular areas to store fat are so full that the fat is deposited into the organs and around the heart. How much belly fat do you have? The most precise way to determine how much visceral fat you have is to get a CT scan or an MRI, but one who can afford it And many doctors won't justify it, obviously, if you're just doing this out of curiosity. But there's a much simpler, low cost way to check. Get a measuring tape, meaning a soft one. I can see people asking their husband if they can borrow no, they mean the fabric one. Okay, I thought I had one right there. I don't. Get a measuring tape, wrap it around your waist at your belly button, and check your girth. Do it while you're standing up and make sure the tape measure is level. For your health's sake, you want your waist size to be less than 35 inches if you're a woman and less than 40 inches if you're a man. Having a pear shape, bigger hips and thighs, is considered safer than an apple shape, which describes a wider waist. What we're really pointing to with the apple versus pear is that if you have more abdominal fat, it's probably an indicator that you have more visceral fat. And that's straight up. All right, but here's the news. Thin people have it too. Even if you're thin, you can still have too much visceral fat. How much you have is partly about your genes and partly about your lifestyle, especially how active you are. Visceral fat likes inactivity. In one study, thin people who watched their diets but didn't exercise were more likely to have too much visceral fat. The key is to be active no matter what size you are. 4 steps for beating belly fat. 1. Exercise. Vigorous exercise trims all your fat, including visceral fat. Get at least 30 minutes of moderate exercise at least 5 days a week. Walking counts as long as it's brisk enough that you work up a sweat and breathe harder with your heart rate faster than usual. To get the same results in half the time, step up your pace and get vigorous exercise like jogging or walking. You'd need to do that for 20 minutes a day, 4 days a week. Jog if you're already fit, or walk briskly at an incline on a treadmill if you're not ready for jogging. Vigorous workouts on stationary bikes and elliptical or rowing machines are also effective. Moderate activity, raising your heart rate for 30 minutes at least 3 times per week, also helps. It slows down how much visceral fat you gain, but to torch visceral fat, your workouts may need to be stepped up. No pun intended. Rake leaves, walk, garden, go to Zumba, play soccer with your kids. It doesn't have to be in a gym. If you are not active now, it's a good idea to check with your healthcare provider before starting a fitness program. Number 2, diet. There's no magic diet for belly fat, but when you lose weight on any diet, belly fat usually goes first. Getting enough fiber can help. Harrison's research shows that people who eat 10 grams of soluble fiber per day without any other diet changes build up less visceral fat over time than others. That's as simple as eating 2 small apples, a cup of green peas, or a half cup of pinto beans. Even if you kept everything else the same, but switched to a higher fiber bread, you might be able to better maintain your weight over time. Number 3, sleep. Getting the right amount of shut-eye helps. In one study, people who got 6 to 7 hours of sleep per night gained less visceral fat over 5 years compared to those who slept 5 or fewer hours per night. And this is so interesting, or 8 or more hours per night. So it's the 2 extremes. Those who had 5 or less, but even those who chose to sleep far more, 8 or more. There's that happy medium, about 6 or 7 hours. I love that because that is doable for me. That is more doable for me than going for 8. Sleep may not have been the only thing that mattered, but it was part of the picture. And number 4, stress. Everyone has stress. How you handle it matters. The best thing you can do is to include relaxing with friends and family, meditating, exercising to blow off steam, and getting counseling. That leaves you healthier and better prepared to make good choices for yourself. If you could only afford, this is like the bottom line, if you could only afford the time to do one of these things, Exercise probably has the most immediate benefits because it gets at both obesity and stress. All right, you heard it here at Jules Blessed Vegan, friends. Let's go back. The 4 things you can do, because we always want to say, well, is it too late? What can I do? No, it's not too late. You can exercise vigorously. You can diet by including more fiber. You can sleep by averaging 6 to 7 hours. And you can reduce your stress by maybe laughing more. All right, my friends, like if you like, join us if you haven't, subscribe. I'm going to commit to the exercise, whenever I get too busy. And because I drive a few hours a day, because I work 100 miles away, exercise is one of the things that I compromise. Well, I mean, at least I walk 6,000 steps. Well, that's pretty easy. But did you push yourself to the 7, the 9, the 10? Did I get on that rebounder to move my lymphatic system? Like things like that. So of those, I'm going to commit to exercise. How about you? Can you pick one of those? Stress, sleep, diet, or exercise? And put it in the comments below because I would love to support you. And until we talk again, best of all, there is still time, and therefore we're blessed.